Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Lavi.
And Salty and Chip.
It's Metallica Monday, y'all.
But it's not Monday.
But it's not Monday.
And we don't do Metallica Monday.
It's Metallica Monday on Thursday.
Yep. I honestly didn't even know what day it was. I was like, are we saying the right thing here?
This is Fight Fire with Fire.
Yep.
It's on the Ride the Lightning record. So the Four Horsemen song was about on the Kill 'Em All record. This is a follow up to Kill 'Em All.
Okay.
This is Ride the Lightning.
Right.
Ride the Lightning.
All right.
Oh no, we have a Where in the World is a Village.
Well, I just didn't remember where they were. Like.
It doesn't matter where they are. They're a Smashing Pumpkins concert.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
Okay. All right. They're at a Smashing.
So they're father and daughter.
So
I would
cute.
personally
Look,
thank
she's
the
doing
young
the
lady. Yeah, she's doing the Sori secret thing. Everybody does that pose. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty badass. Gotta say.
Little Emma.
Is that her name?
Yeah, Emma.
So shout out to the Village. If you want a shirt, if you want a Sori secret shirt, it's PayPal.
Yep.
Vin and Sori merch at gmail.com.
Yep.
And there's your shirt.
Let us know what you want for a size. $25.
And then there you go.
Yep.
That guy
Free
was,
shipping in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., you gotta tack on $15.
That guy was like one of the first. He
Oh
was
yeah,
like a 400. He was in the hundreds.
he was right there from the beginning.
That's RTS, right?
Basically, yeah,
That's
it
RTS,
is.
right?
Chicago RTS. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's in Chicago. We're in the World of Village, Chicago.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, his name is RTS Chicago. Anyway, shout out to the big homie. This is Fight Fire with Fire,
Yeah.
Metallica.
Thanks for supporting us. Go. Yep. Just thinking.
Have a cup of tea. A cup of tea.
Good day. Good day.
I will personally.
Yeah, that's right. Whoa. Every time we listen to a Metallica song, I get so nervous because I'm like, if I don't like this, I'm gonna have to say I don't like this. And I feel like Metallica is like one of those sacred cows like nobody is supposed to slaughter. I always like, so I'm like, oh no, what if I don't like it? So I'm very happy to announce I liked this one, guys. Which one was the one I didn't like?
You like old Metallica.
Oh.
And then the other thing was I was enjoying the song too much or so. But that was like when you were first listening to metal. I don't think you really understood metal and
No,
like how to like metal.
I didn't.
At the time.
No, I didn't. And there was so much to take in, and I felt so overwhelmed, and like it was a lot. And then like I was distracted, and then people were saying I was distracted, and I was like, I'm not trying to be distracted. It was just a lot. But now I'm more like I can hear it and like, appreciate your air guitar. Yeah. Plus, I think I'm getting a better understanding of like time periods too. Like when we listen to Wasp, like you could tell that Wasp was set back a ways, and so you appreciate it for its time period.
Right.
You don't say, well, that has an old sound to it, so I don't like it. Well, it was older. That's why it sounds like it was back then, because it was. So anyway,
It doesn't matter what era. This song is this is a banger.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I liked the beginning, like what they did there, and it was like very like proper-y sounding.
Would you like some tea?
I was like, I pictured us like in that time period, and then I was like, wait, you probably wouldn't have been able to talk to me at that time period. So I had to like switch that. So yeah, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, what? It like opened up. I'm like, yes.
Have
you heard this one before?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm like, you look like you totally knew what you were doing with your air guitar.
It's a banger. As they've done to you, but what the hell is this world coming to?
Okay.
Nuclear warfare. So there you are.
Okay, so we're fighting fire with fire.
Songs about jihad, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically like world destruction.
They're doing something wrong, so we're gonna blow them up, and then it's all it is everybody blowing everybody up.
Harm. Yeah.
Hey, yo, let's say straight haram.
I never get that one right.
I almost got it. I got it more than I got it the last time I did it on the show. I'm like, I think about that line a lot.
Yeah, so it's
author.
Do unto others as they've done to you.
Yeah.
That's an inversion, right? Of do unto others as you would like them to do to you.
You would have them do to you, yeah.
Right? So like and then you combine that with turn the other cheek.
Yep.
Somebody strikes you on the whatever, turn the other cheek.
Can you explain that verse? I always like, so like, it.
Well, you always have Christians. The funny thing.
So if I slap you, you're gonna show me the other way. I'm gonna slap you, and it's just gonna go back and forth. I mean, what? I feel like I'm misunderstanding.
No, it's not. It actually ends. You won't slap the person after they give you the other cheek. That's what I've noticed. The only time that the slaps continue is when people keep reciprocating the slaps. That's when it doesn't stop. But if somebody slaps somebody,
yeah, and
then the other person says, "Okay, do this one too," he says, "Offer the other cheek."
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're gonna even engage the other cheek. It just
this is not talking about like an abusive situation,
no,
because obviously that's totally different.
Well, I do think there's applications in an abusive situation. For example, I would not counsel a woman to physically attack her male attacker, because that then stokes up his male ego and it could escalate into something lethal.
Yeah.
I think she should get the hell out of Dodge, and Jesus does say that if you're being abused or persecuted in one city, flee to the next. So she needs to get the hell out of Dodge, or call the authorities.
Yep.
Then you can go to Romans 13. The soldier doesn't bear the sword in vain. He's God's instrument of vengeance.
Yeah.
To distribute vengeance to the wrongdoer. So like.
Yeah, I had a friend that was in an abusive situation, and when she called the cops, they were friends with her abuser. So.
Oh yeah, I know.
You might as well not have called, but get out of the situation.
I've seen it. Yeah. So.
Sick.
So I think there's an application of turn the other cheek even in an abusive situation.
Oh no.
What?
Nothing.
I don't understand.
There's nothing. Everything's great.
Well, I mean, cameras. This $700-800 camera is being held up by a sock.
You know what though?
I don't think there's literally anything in this house that is expensive electronically, even if it's for this, that hasn't been anyway nuked. Yeah, so Jesus is in a very tense. That's what people don't realize. Like, Jesus was making a ton of political commentary when he was talking.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize. That's what people don't understand. Because, I mean, Jesus' very first message was, repent, the kingdom is at hand. And that was that was an extremely political statement.
Right.
It was not, people weren't thinking about it in a fluffery, flowery little, it was a very this world oriented message.
Yep.
So anyway, so you had these Romans who were constantly oppressing you, and then you had all these factions of jihadists in the Jewish community that were trying to go against it. And so violence is just in the air. It's just thick. And then on top of that, anytime you have an oppressed group of people, and the oppressor is so powerful that you really can't do anything to fuck with them.
Yep.
It then creates sort of this internal conflict where, okay, the Romans can do and say whatever the hell they want to me, but there's no way in hell I'm going to let you disrespect me.
Yeah.
So I think somebody strikes you on the cheek, and Christians will my atheist friends, if you want to try something funny, like, talk to Christians about the Sermon on the Mount, because they'll do everything they possibly can to explain that shit away.
Yep.
So like,
to make it not literal.
To make it not what Jesus said. So like, for example, it'll be like, Jesus says, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
If somebody smacks you, and then somebody will say, well, that's not talking about physical assault. That's talking about somebody disrespecting you because they were in a right-handed culture, and so it's a person backslapping you.
Which is like an insult, So if somebody insults you, let them insult you more.
So what he's saying is let the person insult you, but he's not saying let the person physically assault you.
But if they physically assault you, take out your gun!
Fuck them up. Put them in a rear naked choke. Like, I mean, you know this. I've literally had Christians tell me that shit.
Yeah,
it's like,
not joking.
It's like, oh, it's a sign of disrespect, so it can't be a physical assault and a sign of disrespect simultaneously.
Right.
It couldn't be that Jesus is telling you to do two things at the same time. It couldn't be that he's saying, don't repay disrespect with disrespect, and don't repay violence for violence. It couldn't be that Jesus is killing two birds with one stone. No. It's just, let people disrespect you. I asked a guy one time, I was like, so if he did a frontward slap, Jesus means fuck him up. If he did a backward slap, it means let it go. Dumb. Anyway.
I think other way is what you meant.
I don't know. Either way, it's dumb.
But you get the point.
No, the backhand slap is the disrespect one. That's the one you're supposed to let go.
Yeah.
The frontward slap, you're supposed to fuck him up, according to these people.
Right.
That's what Jesus meant, according to them. The only reason people are saying that is because they don't want to actually live the Sermon on the Mount, because it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is it's incredibly difficult not living the Sermon on the Mount, because it increases the cycle of violence.
Yeah.
So
in the whole world,
the song starts with do unto others as they've done to you. And like, the Sermon on the Mount is so simple, but the more and more you look into it, the more you see the wisdom in it. So like, we're watching Vikings, and the entire culture, at least in this show, is about jihad, and it's about war, and it's about conquering, it's about fighting, and it's about kasos, which is vengeance and retribution.
Yeah.
And then Floki, and then one of them tries to go and create another culture. So he takes a group of disciples and they travel off to some far off land, and then inevitably violence happens, and the Viking way is to take vengeance. And then Floki says, no, because if you do that, when's it going to stop?
I'll give you a position of power.
Yeah. You don't say, Floki. Interesting. So if the only way to neutralize there's only really two ways to neutralize violence, which is to respond to nonviolence, or to respond to the violence with overwhelming power such that it guarantees the other person can't fight back. It's the only way. So we had a situation in our city, because you guys know we do inner city work, and it was along racial lines. It was an extremely tense situation because we have a refugee population that's from an African nation, and then of course it's Maine, so you've got a bunch of white folks, and these African immigrants jumped a guy and his girl. beat the hell out of him. Black eye. The girl had black eye, blotchy all over the place.
Yeah.
And so we had just happened to run into them, like literally the next day, and they were just torn up, and they told us what happened.
Yep.
And
we
on,
we were sitting and we were all eating sandwiches. We bring like a loaf of bread and like a bag of meat and a bag of cheese and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were over there and we were like, hey, you guys want a sandwich? And they came over. I was like, I love it when people like be like, okay, yeah. So they came over for a sandwich, and then we just started talking to them, and then.
So I said, what the hell happened to you, man?
Wow.
And they explained what happened, and I was like, fuck. And then, so we're talking, later on, we're in a little prayer circle or something. I see all these people start, like, gathering at the top of the hill. Mm-hmm. That's where all the white folks were hanging out. And I was like, oh, that guy's got a weapon. That guy, and I just, flashbacks from the hood.
You're piecing it all together.
Yeah, I looked at Sori. I said, take everybody back to church.
I was like, okay, guys. No, I did it. I brought everybody back, but it was.
To this day, I don't understand why you'd have a problem with that.
I don't like the feeling of like I don't know if it's like the masculine side of me, but I don't like the feeling of being a coward. And there's like a situation going on, and it's not only just about being a coward, but it's like I've been in my own situations where I wasn't afraid, and I went and took care of what I needed to take care of, and people would be like scared for me, but I wasn't scared for myself. So like I don't know, like there's certain situations where I think that God sends you into those situations and you take care of what you have to. I mean, there was times where people were fighting in the park and all bloody, and like I went over because nobody else is stopping it.
This is different. This was a woman got the crap kicked out of her. Her eye was bloodshot. I mean, it's just, you can tell. That's the thing. Like, you don't have those experiences. Like, you can tell when shit's about to get a different level of violence.
Yeah, no, I haven't been in those types of situations.
Because you had the white supremacist dude up there and all that shit, and there was already all this tension.
Yep.
And then there's a bunch of Africans just playing ball like nothing happened. And then you've got a woman that got assaulted. Like, it's a completely different thing. Like,
we got everybody out of
there.
there.
The fact that you would use that as a correlation tells me that I did the right thing. So anyway.
Yeah, because I believe that if God wants me there, that He'll protect me if I need to be protected.
Well, obviously,
and if not, whatever.
Obviously, He didn't want you there.
Why? Because I listen to you?
Yeah.
Please.
Because you don't listen to me all the time.
No.
You very rarely listen to me, actually.
Really? Is that how you feel?
So anyway, I said, and the other thing was, we had a bunch of kids there with us.
I know, that was really what it was. I had to bring the kids
I
back.
told Sori, I was like, I need you to take everybody to. It was that, and we had a whole bunch of like, people who are,
Honestly, I don't even think I knew what was really going on at that point.
You did.
He's like, you're gonna have to get everybody out of here. I hate that. I want answers. But he had a look on his face that it was intense, so I'm like, all right. So we started loading everybody up, getting everybody out of there.
So I
rolled, just waiting.
So I rolled up to.
Of course, if something would have happened to him, like I just don't see myself.
What would you have done?
Who knows? See, we have this conversation all the time, and I think you guys have seen us have it. I've seen the movies. The girl's just standing there not doing anything, and then the guy's getting all this horror happen to him. Or maybe, you know what? Go ahead, finish your story, and I'll say
Your Grace.
What?
These people had just demonstrated that they have no problem assaulting a female.
Yes, I understand that.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I get mixed up into some crazy situation, the last thing I need to do is worry about making sure you're okay.
You didn't though, right?
No,
Allah saw to it that was not how the situation went. In fact, you got in a conversation with somebody.
Well,
Maybe if I was there, I would have got into a conversation with somebody as well.
If you were, it could have went the other way. They might have seen you, see how beautiful you are, and then try to stunt to impress you. There's a whole bunch of shit that could have went down. This is not a place for you to be.
Okay. Anyway, tell them your story. I don't like doing stuff like that.
So anyway, we did the practical, the right thing, and we got the civilians out of the situation.
Yeah.
And then I walked up there and I said, "Hey, man." And so I started talking because I knew a couple of people, but I'm looking for the leader, right? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, there's the Nazi guy with his tattoos and all this shit. I said, "Hey," because he was sitting down the whole time. And he was just looking at me, and I could tell like this guy's a leader. So I said, "Hey, man," and he said, "Yep." And he's got his knife and all this shit, like he's ready to rock and roll. And I said, "You can't do what you're about to do, man." And he's like, and he gets up off of his bench.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, "What are you trying to say?" Because he doesn't know what my intentions are. I'm black.
Right.
He knows I'm not African, but he knows I'm not black. But he also knows I'm black, right?
He knows you're not a Nazi.
Yeah, right, exactly. I said, you can't do this. He goes, he looks at the girl. He goes, yeah. He's like, were you telling those yesterday that they can't do it? I said, I wasn't here. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And he's basically like, and then his buddy's like, look, your preaching isn't going to work over here. He's like, your Jesus is not going to work over here.
I remember you saying that.
He's like, your Jesus is not going to work over here. And he wanted to get bloody. I mean, you could, I mean, there's something that happens to you. Like when one of you, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
But like if a woman gets attacked like that, and it's one of your people, and then the people that did it are just out there chilling, like
they tore her up. Yeah.
So it's like, and she was ready to go.
Oh, I know. She's like, I was going for the brass knuckles, and then
she had her knuckles, and people die over that. People have died over brass knuckles. So anyway, I told the guys, you can't do this. And I said, his buddy's sitting there yelling, your religion's not gonna do shit over here, buddy. You take your Jesus somewhere else. He's like, he basically with the guy on the side, his little sidekick. He's like, these motherfuckers have to pay for this shit.
Yeah.
And I told the leader, I said, look, God's put you in charge of these people, and whatever happens to them is going to be your fault. And he was basically like, yeah, but we got the advantage, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, today, dum-dum, but one of your folks is going to get caught slipping, and that's going to be on you, and then you're going to have to go back and do that, and then you're going to have to go back and take revenge for them, and then where does it stop?
How many of them were there?
Who, they were deep, the white people?
Yeah, I know they were deep, but what, 30 deep?
It was about 30 deep, yeah. Yeah, and of course...
And like you said, you're not always going to be 30 deep. Someday, one or two people's going to be out going to the convenience store, and...
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of, like, reciprocal gang violence in Maine, so they don't understand how it works. I mean, it's getting there, but they don't understand how... I mean, I'm from, we're from the Bronx, so I know how it goes. So when you start, like, bringing... Because they're very emotional, very hot-headed, got a bunch of weapons there... Like, people, it's going to get bloody, people are going to get hurt, and there's no way in the world that people are going to let that slide. Yeah. Even if you're wrong. That's what people don't realize. Like, even if the other person has a just cause, when you take vengeance, the other people are going to... And the only way to make it stop is to completely crush your enemy. So I start telling this guy, I said, look, Jesus commands you to turn the other cheek here. And his buddy's like, are you serious? I said, look, you got to turn the other cheek, man. You got to let this go. And I'm praying the whole time, right? I'm like, you got to help me out here. He is not receptive. He was like, he goes,
I wonder what he was thinking when you were saying
He said, if you go down there with me, then
I wonder why he wanted you to go down there with him.
I have no idea. So I said, cool, I'll do it right now. So I'm walking down there, and then he goes, hey, what are you going to say?
And you never plan what you're going to say. You just say it when you get there. Did you tell him anything?
I said, I got it. I know how to talk to these people. That was bullshit.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So what'd you say?
That was all bullshit. Well, I mean, it was about a 30-second walk from where their place to down there.
Because the other ones are down on the court, right?
So we open the gate to the basketball court. We go in there, and like the whole place is crawling with these African dudes, right? And they look at this guy. They look at the guy because everybody knows it's about to go down, right? So they look at the guy, and the guy's basically by himself with me. He put himself in that situation. Yeah. And I
feel like that's supernatural.
I said, I said, everybody come over here. And I basically said, last night, you guys did some real cowardly shit. And now you've set in motion some real violent shit that's about to go down. Yeah. Because you know that nobody's going to let that shit stand. Nobody worth anything is going to let that shit stand. Mm-hmm. So now we're in a situation where people are ready to come at y'all. And then, of course, people, well, fuck them, let them come, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. But then I found the leader in that group, and I said...
How did you find the leader in that one?
You just know who, because they're always quiet, and they actually listen. It's all the stupid rah-rah people that, talk all the shit, but that's how you know, okay, you're nobody. You're just trying to stunt. You're just trying to look like a badass. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've never been in any... The other thing is, like, people who have, like, experienced violence don't like it. They don't like being in that situation. So if there's a way that they can maintain their, status and their ego and still not engage in violence, that's what they want to do. which is why I was talking about like why Putin would rather deal with Trump than with Hillary, because Hillary was war hawking the whole time.
Right.
So I told the guy, I'm like, look, man, and I started talking about Jesus again because they're Muslims. So
yeah,
I said Jesus said to turn the other cheek. Of course, Muhammad explicitly said, you know, qasas, you take vengeance. But in the Quran it says you can take vengeance, but forgiveness is better.
Right.
And so I just threw all that against the wall, and then I said a prayer, and then we were literally, as me and this dude, surrounded by the basketball court full of them. It was so many of them there that his people couldn't get inside, so they were like outside the gate looking at us, and then and then the leader was like, all right, we shouldn't have done that, and then the white guy goes, okay, and that was it. There was no jihad in the park that day. And I said, you know, because I was telling the white guy, I'm like, you're gonna let look at all these kids. You're gonna let these kids see all this shit. You're gonna let them see people get sliced
literally,
up and shot and stabbed and all this shit?
The playground is like the gates of the basketball court is like basically the gates were right there is the swing sets and the little playground for the kids area. I mean, tons of kids, and there's a lot of these kids that are down there, and there's like tons of them. Like
so you're gonna make
and not all of them have their parents down there either.
No.
So it's like, you know, a kid is just going to sit there and watch.
Of course.
Because they can't, you know, a parent's going to try to usher the kid out of there, but...
Yeah, in the hood, like, people are past that because it happens so many times that doesn't mean anything to them. But where we are now, like, they're not... It's not happening yet.
No, yeah. Yikes.
So, yeah, he said, okay. And they squashed it. That was it. And, of course, you know, we weren't there... Recently, it's broke out again.
Yeah, because we've been doing this.
You know, we definitely needed a break from that whole situation. But like, it makes it makes you wonder what would have happened if we were down there. Because there was a guy and same thing happened, but nobody stopped it, and he got literally beaten to death. They hit the guy with a plank over his head a couple times, and then he never made it out of his coma. He died.
That's another one?
No, that's the guy from like a month ago.
Oh, no. The other guy got hit with a propane tank. I remember that.
Yeah, that was the other guy.
Yeah. Wow. It's crazy because you think to yourself, like, I feel like, who's going to say, okay, we're going to let that go? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you say that? I feel like the only way that somebody can really do that is like there has to be something supernatural going on, because I feel like naturally, who's gonna let anything go? Like they beat that girl up, like they beat her up. It wasn't like they were throwing her off so that way they could beat up her man. Like they friggin' were beating her up. Yeah. And the thing is, the whole reason the whole thing started wasn't it because like they were going around cleaning up trash in the park.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it was
just completely uncalled for.
There was racist things that were being said against them, like, and then it just like started.
And I'm sure they said stuff to them that they didn't tell us.
Oh yeah.
But that doesn't mean you get to physically assault someone. But they treated her. They handled her
like she was a guy.
Yeah. Like, and I had to separate myself from that immediately because I'd have got too caught up in it. Because that's tough for me, right? For obvious reasons. So
yeah,
you know, but yeah, it was just a comedy of errors. Like going up there and just being like, "Yo, you can't do this, Mr. Nazi guy with the tattoo. I'm the black guy that's gonna tell you can't go after these Africans for you know." But at the end of the day, it's like
I'd like to hear. And then after you had a whole conversation with him.
He wanted to know, like, okay, like what moves you, what motivates, like what's going on here, and we had a conversation about.
See, I'm like totally not like that. Like when I go, like. Like remember there was a time that there was those two guys, they were like fighting and they were like getting all bloody or whatever. Like they weren't like really bloody, but there was some blood flying around.
Yeah.
And like nobody was like moving, so I ran up there. I was like, stop, you guys can't do this. And like I hate the sound of my voice when I'm going like really loud because I feel like I sound like this is terrible, but maybe this is like issues that I have against my own gender. But like the screechy sound of a woman's voice when it's very annoying to me. And so like when I hear my own voice,
but you were fucking powerful when you're like in your zone and shit, and you're
that's
like,
not how I
the
hear
Falcon
it.
eyes going.
That's not how I hear it. I'm like, stop. I'm like, you guys can't
Which
do this.
fight
You
was
need
that?
to stop that.
Who was fighting? Was I there?
No, you were somewhere else. You did come back around. I don't know where you were.
Who was fighting?
I never saw either of them before. One of them was
Oh.
like this guy that was he was like a hippie type of person. Like he traveled all over the place. And
Okay.
he had like a bandana on,
Yes,
and then there was
yes.
like this other guy that was like, they were both short, and what was happening was he had this like this religious, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed, but he had this thought process that if somebody is angry, the way to get the anger out of them is you should beat the hell out of them to get the anger out. Like that's gonna get the anger out. I'm like, this is not working. I'm like, look at him, he's progressively getting more angry.
I remember that one.
And then I'm like, do you feel like that he's bringing you peace? And then he was like swearing, like he was getting like everybody was all keyed up.
I was dropping off Jay.
I think so.
That was the day that Jay went after that dude.
I think that's what had happened. Yes.
I told that guy, this is
Yes.
the last time I'm saving you.
Yes.
And it was.
Yeah, it was.
Because he died.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
here you are.
Yeah. So that was what was going on with that one, and then like I was just but I don't say like I just keep telling him like, listen, like God does not want you doing that, like Jesus does not want you guys hitting each other like this.
Yeah.
And I always feel like that it's so elementary, like I feel like, because that's what I tell the kids, like Jesus doesn't want you doing these kinds of things, and then I'm saying this to grown men, like it feels like, I don't know, but he ended up like, he talked for a long time with me, like the one guy that was angry was
Yeah, when I came back, he was still talking to you.
yeah, the one guy that was angry, he was like swearing and like he was like going off and like saying all these things, but I was like praying when he was doing that, because I didn't know, like he looked like he wanted to attack me, like he just looked like he like had some very significant issues. And then I just kept praying, and like as I was praying, like he went off, and then the other guy was like talking to me about his like religion and like how he kind of like basically makes his own religion, and like all like the good stuff that he finds in each religion, he kind of like brings that together. And so I was just talking to him, but like I said, like I just say Jesus doesn't want you doing this, like he doesn't want you.
That's fine.
Yeah, I know, but it feels so like
It worked.
yeah, it did.
Mine worked, yours worked.
It did, and people were like mad at me because there was kids there with me, but you weren't there, and so I just had the kids had the kids stay back, and there was other people that I knew that were there.
Why don't you just trust God and bring the kids into the middle of it? Same shit.
No, because I'm not a child, and then I just went in there. People were like, "Don't go over there, stay away from them."
I know. Just let them destroy each other.
Yeah.
God almighty.
I don't like seeing that though. I do not like seeing people like, even like when there's like a video on like the internet or something, when somebody's hitting somebody in the head and stuff, I don't like that. I'm like, wow, I don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
I can understand getting frustrated with your siblings but not like punching somebody in the head.
Massively practical with a ton of utility.
Yeah, but somebody has to be the one that says, all right, you poked me in my eye, and I'm not going to go back at you.
Yeah.
And that's difficult, especially when you're looking at your girl who's still, coming down off the black and blue, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to let this go.
I mean,
That's
as
tough.
a mother of his kids, I mean, whew, that's...
But the leader wasn't.
No, the leader
wasn't.
But still, like,
They were friends.
if that's
a crew. I know.
That's your people, you gotta ride, man. Like, but I always used to wonder, like, why am I going through this? Like, being in the Bronx, and like, why am I in there, and why am I in the middle of this again? And
do you think if somebody would have come to you and said some of that, it would have helped you? Or what? You're so intense. Your eyes right now. You guys can't see, but I can. Would that have helped you, or what do you think?
I don't know. Because with me, I already knew all that stuff. That wasn't new. That wasn't shocking. I was like overruling it and saying, no. 16, 17 years old, and stuff happens to your friends or whatever. Like, I'm not doing that.
You're going out for them.
But the thing is that the leader was older.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he'd already been through shit. You could
How old do you think he was?
35, 30. So he's already been through it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So you got to get that shit out of your system when you're a teenager and when you're young and hot-blooded and you're
Then
you don't understand the
cycle.
that it's not going to do what you think it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that age you're just reacting, but the older you get, the more you sit back and be like, okay, how can I maintain my status as a badass?
Yeah.
And still, but I mean, think about it. He went down there by himself with just me. So his status was intact. And he was able to save a bunch of bloodshed from happening. So he still got a street cred for that. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, but it's just immensely practical. And it,
Somebody could have stabbed you guys both right there. That could have been it.
Oh yeah, I mean my back with my six was all. I mean it was just terrible. and halfway through it, like I heard in my head, like you are completely. This is bad, bad. This is all bad. This is like goes against everything you were ever taught about.
Yep.
You know, like it was. I was just like, all right, well. You know?
He's so weird because this is like this kind of stuff was going on all the time, you know, and we were dealing with like you know, prostitutes and stuff like that. So you don't know when all of a sudden like you're messing with somebody's business when you're trying to give somebody, you know, like a different way of living. So then they're no longer going to be a source of income for their pimp, you know? And so like I was like, you didn't know when something was gonna happen. Like somebody could have got stabbed, you know. Like you didn't know if you didn't know what was gonna happen. And so we were like talking about it. Vin's like, he goes, all right. Like we're talking about like what would happen like if one of us got injured. Like what would we do? Like kind of making a plan.
Oh,
Vin's like, he says, mad serious. He's like, if I get stabbed, yeah, it would be inconvenient. I'm like, who says that? Like. It would be inconvenient? What? It was like such a like, I don't know. That's a super emotional thing and you just talked about it like it was all facts. You sounded so robotic.
Well, I said it would be inefficient.
Inefficient, that's right. That was the word.
And the reason is because in our little crew, nobody had any experience with that stuff.
Yes, I know.
So it would have really put a damper on what we were trying to accomplish down there. But they made this big, whoa, my gosh, what's wrong with you? Like
inefficient. I've never heard anybody say, if I get stabbed, it would be inefficient.
I've heard people say that. I've heard people say that about being shot.
Yeah, but
I've heard people say that about...
You've been around different people than I have. I think most people would be like, oh my gosh, like if I get stabbed, it would be so terrible. Like my family, my this. Like a lot of people would talk about the emotional
You were watching that documentary. That kid got hit on that mountain over there in Afghanistan. What did he say before he died? Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you gotta stop. You gotta, you know, run security around the guy, get a medic. So now the rate of fire is dropped down immensely and all that shit, which increases the other guy's chance of getting hit. You know, that's where guys get hit the most after somebody else gets hit.
I hear you.
Well, it's not efficient to get shot. It's not.
I was like, what?
It's not.
Yes, I know it's not efficient, but most people don't talk about it like
it's not efficient to get stabbed.
Stats on a worksheet.
Not efficient to get stabbed either. But I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so there you go.
So back to Metallica.
If you fight fire with fire, then you know the whole world ends in nuclear holocaust. It's, you know, like God said in the past. Of course, our understanding of Armageddon is that Armageddon has already happened. We're not looking forward to another Armageddon.
No, yeah.
So that's all done with, so we can have a good future.
Yep.
Where everybody turns the other cheek and becomes a peacemaker.
And treats the other person like they would want to be treated.
Yeah. What do you give the song?
I feel like I'm giving everything 9s these days. 9.
We're listening. People are choosing some quality shit.
Yep.
Some quality shit. Nobody liked the Bring Me the Horizon song though. Everybody's like, oh, I love you, Vin, but this song is terrible!
What?
All right. It's a 9.5 for me. I don't know. I feel like I'm just handing out 10s like candies. This is a 10 to me.
A 10?
Yeah, because I feel like you can put this in the vault and open it up in 30 years.
Yes, but for me, the lyrics, not the lyrics, but the vocals themselves, they didn't inspire me like a 10 inspires me. The sound.
Right, it's a 10 for me. Then out.
Sorry out.
Gone.